Welcome to another edition of the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters is, well, of course, right here. I am Mike Galetta, a.k.a. Hamilton Mike, along with my partner Brian the Ranger Attard, giving you another NFL special that we told you we would, NFL 32 teams and 32 fans. Today we're going to trip over to the AFC East and talk about a team that's kind of in the Delaware Valley, but really above, Pennsylvania, things like that. Talk about a team and talk about some knowledge. Local guy to the area. We'll talk to Lane L. Lane, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, because all we bring here, Brian, is what?
Absolute winners, absolutely.
It's freaking winners.
You have to be a winner to walk in here.
Every guy we bring into the place where it makes magic is the winner. So, Brian, stab me. Let's talk about the Jets.
So, New York Jets. They were 10-6 last season, second place in the AFC. Heartbreaking, did not qualify for the playoffs. I mean, they had a record good enough, just tiebreakers there were in their favor. Balanced offensively, 10th ranked in the NFL in rushing, 13th in passing. Wonderful defensively. Second against the run, 13th against the pass. They went defense in the first round, 20th overall. Darren Lee, linebacker out of Ohio State. They did lose Chris Ivory and Antonio Cromartie to free agency, but they did bring in Matt Forte, running back from the Chicago Bears. Again, solid record last year. I mean, when you're 10-6 and miss the playoffs, that really, really sucks. And as Jet fans know, that was extremely unfortunate.
You just can't lose twice to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
The playoffs.
made the difference. So again, they did lose Chris Ivory, who went down south to Jacksonville. Signed an aging Matt Forte to replace him. May spell Bilal Powell kind of split carries there. Recently, after a very long summer battle with Ryan Fitzpatrick, they got their quarterback under contract for this season. Fans were concerned about starting off with Geno Smith, and rightfully so. Their defense is excellent. There's not a lot that they could do better there, and their offense last year was a surprising outcome there, given how potent it was. They took Darren Lee again to bolster the defense, and they drafted Christian Hackenberg, quarterback out of Penn State, who could be a project quarterback of the future for the Jets. Could be, absolutely. So, heartbreaking year last year, Lane. What are your thoughts going into the season?
Yeah, again, I'll go back to those two games against Buffalo. Rex Ryan had something to prove. His whole season was to beat the Jets twice and to make us stop from winning the playoffs, and he accomplished that. So I think Rex had accomplished one of his goals. He's got an up-and-coming team there in Buffalo too. They're something to worry about in the future. I don't think they're there yet. And I'm still not sure after all these years of watching Rex if he's that good of a head coach, but we'll see. I like my head coach, Todd Bowles. I think he's excellent. I think he's someone that's going to be able to bring this team along. I like Rex. I like the fact that we signed Fitzpatrick. We needed that signing. Without Fitzpatrick's, we're nowhere. Geno Smith is not a quarterback in this league.
As long as he doesn't punch anybody.
Bryce Petty is not the answer, and the guy we drafted, he's a few years off. So if we're going to go anywhere, contend, it's going to be with Fitzpatrick. So I'm glad they got that deal done.
I think his play last season really is what bolstered them to a 10-6 record. I mean, again, the receivers on the outside are excellent with Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, but I think that having a steadying force like a Fitzpatrick there, which the Jets haven't really had for a couple of years, a solid quarterback that they can count on, was definitely something that bolstered them. What are your thoughts on what we're going to see out of Matt Forte changing over to New York Gang Green this year?
You know what? Forte gives you something completely different than Chris Ivory gave you. Ivory was that guy that was going to hit you hard and get some yards after the carry. Yep. Forte does not give you that. Forte is going to give you some passing outside of the pocket that Ivory couldn't. The question is, how much tread is left on that tire?
Yeah.
I don't know what he has left. He's been very durable there his whole career. He's missed, I believe, 8 games throughout his season, though 3 of them were last year. So does that show signs of age right there? I'm a little worried about it. I loved Chris Ivory. I loved what he brought to the team. Teams, they either have to worry about, are they going to give the ball to Chris Ivory, or are they going to pass it to Brandon Marshall or Decker? If you have Forte coming out of the backfield, it's like another passing.
Sure.
So they're already in a pass defense. I think it's easier for teams to defend against this Jet team this year than it was last year. So we'll see.
Reminds me a lot of when they got Thomas Jones also from the Bears.
Yep.
To go in there and be a running back again later in his career, but he produced well.
And I think on the wide receiving core of the Jets is pretty stable for the most part around the league. I mean, you have Marshall, you got Decker. I mean, they're two good guys to put out there. I think, like you said, Todd Bowles, good defensive guy. I think that defense is just going to get better and better. How do you see the defense facing out this year?
I'm a little worried.
Okay.
To be honest with you, losing Cromartie.
That was a big loss. Yep.
So now Revis showed age last year, especially in Week 17 against Buffalo. They lit him up in that game.
So another guy who, how much they have left in the tank?
Yeah. So you have question marks with Revis. You don't have Cromartie. The linebacking core I think is probably one of the best in the league. I think the linebacking is solid, and I think the front four are pretty solid.
Yep.
But I'm a little concerned about the secondary.
Yep. And that's something that could really hurt you. In the last seconds of the games, they're really good in the field on you.
Yep.
Looking at the schedule, Lane, I mean, I know we kind of chuckled about this before. The trend has been a lot of these teams are hurting with the schedule, but you look at the Jets' schedule, 5 out of the first 6 games that they have, they're playing playoff teams. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? They're in a lot of trouble in those first 5 games. Their first 5 out of 6.
Yeah, you look at some of the teams that are playing there.
Yep.
You got. I think the Jets will do okay against the Bills week 2. So week 1 against the Bengals. The Bengals are a Dr. Jekyll and Hyde team. You never know.
I agree.
You never know what the Bengals are going to show you.
Yep.
Going to Arrowhead and playing the Chiefs, that's never fun.
They do get the Seahawks at home though, which is an advantage.
Yeah, Russell Wilson has to cross the country to come play here, and but that team's a well-coached team, and it's a tough schedule. The first 6 games, if we come out of the first 6 3-3, I think we'll set up for probably another 10-6 season.
I think down the stretch of the game, it's really going to mean something. It's obviously that Patriots game when they go to Foxborough.
If we come out 1-5, then at best we're an 8-8 team this year.
Talk about no favors as well. They're going to get the Patriots twice between Thanksgiving and Christmas. When Brady's going to be back in full swing. It's going to be tough for the Jets. I think that could be a team that improves, but maybe doesn't have as good of a record.
And we talked about, Lane had brought up in the big game, you can't lose those games to Buffalo. They have Buffalo at the end of the year, so
New Year's Day.
Well, how funny is that? I guess the NFL did this on purpose or not.
No.
Again, the Jets are going to have to beat Buffalo the last game of the season to probably make a playoff run. And Rex Ryan is going to be there to make sure that doesn't happen.
And take a look at the middle of the schedule. I mean, they got to go 4-0 from week 7 to week 10 into their bye to really give themselves a shot.
But like with a lot of NFL teams, there's games in there they're probably going to lose. They should lose to, and they're going to win. So I think the Jets. Well, let's ask Lane. Lane, where do you think the Jets end up this year in the division and record-wise?
I think the Jets are, again, as they have been for the last century, a second. they're a second-place team to New England. As long as Tom Brady and Belichick are there, they're the odds-on favorite to win the division, and why not? They've done it year after year and after year, and the Jets can't seem to get past that. And I don't think the Dolphins or the Bills. I think the Dolphins are in for a horrendous season. I don't think, even with the things that they've done, they have anybody there that can make plays. I don't think the Dolphins are any good, and I think the Bills are upcoming a little bit. So I think the Jets are probably a solid second-place team, somewhere between 10-6 and 8-8.
It's a shame to say the Jets are probably in the wrong division because they could have the perfect season and still, like you said, not pass the Patriots. But
do you see playoffs this year for the Jets?
Like last year, it's going to be a numbers game at the end of the season. It's going to be count on the tiebreakers and who beat who during the end of the season.
In that Buffalo,
they're either going to squeak in or they're going to miss it again by some tiebreaker. But as being a Jets fan, we'll miss it by some sort of tiebreaker.
Talk about a tortured fan base.
Hey,
that's what happens. That's what happens when you're a Jets fan. You've come to expect the worst.
I think they, like you said, they got to really fortify that quarterback position. Matt, Fitzpatrick is a fix for this year. I don't think they're going to resign him next year. I don't think they're going to go through what they did this year with him. Who knows? But I think they really got to look to fortify that quarterback position. Maybe bring somebody in and draft somebody.
Probably depends on Hackensburg.
On
his development. I mean, he plays well.
Yeah, it's true because you're not going to see a lot of him this year.
The Jets and 24 other teams in the league.
It's true.
Unless you have one of these 7 elite quarterbacks in this league, everybody is searching for that guy because they're just not out there anymore.
And they're going to be mid-pack, so you're not going to get that top tier, top 5 quarterback anymore. So you're going to stay mid-pack. It can hurt them and help them. Who knows? They can get better by staying mid-pack, but like you said, they're going to need something.
Absolutely.
So.
But the biggest question mark on the Jet team, whether they make the playoffs or miss the playoffs, is going to be the right side of their offensive line. It's DeBrickashaw Ferguson retired.
Yep.
He's been a mainstay. He's been a mainstay on that line for 10 years.
Never missed a game.
Now they got Claddy coming in, who they got from New Orleans, and he's really good if he's healthy. So that side of the line is good, but that right side of the offensive line has not been very good. And you know, those guys have to mature and become better this year, and otherwise Fitzpatrick's going to take a lot of blindside hits this year, and
he can't do
that won't be good.
No,
you will see Geno Smith at that point. That's not aggressive.
That's not good. Well, that's all the time we have for the Sports Box today. I want to thank Lane L for coming to the Sports Box and talking about the Jets today. Lane, appreciate you coming out today.
No problem. I just want to say, you know, it is baseball season, so you know, we still have to do a little "Let's Go Mets" here. You know, halfway through, we're getting a little mid-season action, a little magic from last year, and hopefully, we can pull something off.
We just like to say the opinions of our guests do not relate what we say here at the Sports Box. Just want to let you know that. So that's all the time we have. Again, thanks for watching. We got some good NFL teams coming up. And remember, at the Sports Box, the only Brian, you go.
The only opinion that matters clearly is right here.
It's right here.
I don't understand. We get questions via email about what opinion. Stop
living in a cave, people. It's only here. See ya. Thanks.
Don't forget to subscribe.